Good morning, my crafty lovelies. I hope you can see everything I'm doing here. I was talking to one of my lovely ladies last night and I was showing her some of my flowers, and she fell in love with my daisies, so I said I'd do a quick tutorial on them. Easy as pie, these ones. This is what they look like. Look at that, isn't that pretty? Now I've used a shimmery paper on that so you can see it sort of reflects nicely. There you go. These are the ones I showed her last night. Just little paper daisies. So I said I'd show her how to make them. So I've got my cutting board facing this way so that I can use my U-Butte blade. And what I've done is I've got some nice cardstock here. This is actually just from our cheap shop. You know, a book of coloured cardstock. It's nothing special. Just different colours. So I've used that, and I've just used, again, a cheap paper stock. This has got shimmers on it, so it's quite nice. It sort of shines a little bit. I've used that for my paper. So I've picked nice purple for the centre for my flowers. And this was my cardstock, my paper stock here. It was just almost like clouds, pink and purple and a little bit of white. So what I've done is depending on the size you want, for these ones here, the centre is actually a 1/2 inch, which works out to one of these little grids on here. So that's a 1/2 inch. So I've lined it up, used my U-Butte cutter, and just sliced along to make my paper. So that's my centre there, easy as. I won't cut it out because it's already there. I can show you. And with this, what I've done is I've doubled it plus half. So if I'm using one of those, if I'm using 1/2 inch, so what I've done is I've actually had that 1/2 inch, and then I've added 2 more. 2 more? No, it's more than that, sorry. So 1/2 inch, I've actually gone you know, that's right. Yeah, so I've added the 1/2 inch on here, and then another inch for the flowers, for the petals. So what I've done when I'm cutting it, first thing I've actually done here, marked it out like that. So I've got it all lined up. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Hope that's better. So there's my 1/2 inch there that's going to go in the centre, my inch for the flowers, and I've gone along and I've just cut that there. And then once that's cut, hang on, we'll do that one. I suppose it helps if the blade's open, doesn't it? All these technical things. All right. So this is an inch and a half. An inch and a half wide to go for the 1/2 inch centre. And I've actually we'll be making a larger one. I've doubled it. So, there's that piece there. So that will be my petals there. Now before I put my U-Butte ruler away, I'll line that back up again. Line it up for my 1/2 inch, and I found that this just makes it life easier. Taking my scissors, no blade, just the edge, and I've run it along like that. Just scored it. If you've got a bone file, you can use that, but I don't know where mine is at the moment because I've just moved all my craft room. I'll just fold that up like that, and that gives me my edge that's actually going to be glued onto the center. And then it also gives you a line for cutting your petals. So if you want, you can go in and measure and cut and all the rest of it. I don't do that. I go by eye. So because we're doing a double one, it's twice as thick as the 1/2 inch one, so we're doing an inch one here. You can see that. We're doing an inch one. That's your centre. Because I've doubled it, I've got double the paper. To make one of these, I just use one piece of paper, so one length for the centre and one length for the petals, and that makes that one there. So for the double one, I've actually doubled it up, and I generally put the 2 pieces of paper together and cut together. So I've left a little bit here. But all I'm going to do is just finish cutting that, and usually the last little bit I like to do 1 sheet at a time. Just makes it a little bit easier because it's harder to hold the 2 sheets together. And I like doing it like this because you actually get a little bit of random sizes. So you get slimmer ones and you get some a little bit larger, which it's very hard for me to actually try and do that because I tend to be a little bit OCD about these things. So I have to deliberately make myself do larger and smaller ones. And that gives it, when you're rolling it up, it gives a little bit more randomness. I have seen tutorials where they actually measure it all out and cut them all to size, and when they finish doing this, they go along and cut all the edges, you know, so you've got little diamond bits on the end. And I think, well, you know, that's not my style, and I don't think it loses anything by having the square edges. Why make life hard for yourself? So that's that there. Those 2 done. That's all my petals. Now I've already rolled this one up. I'll show you what I do. I generally take something round, a pen, or I've got a skewer here, broken the end off, but whatever. And I usually use that just to help me roll it a little bit. Once that's done, you can pull it tight and roll it up. And usually a couple of times, maybe not right in the centre, but a couple of times I'll just put a little bit of glue on there. I don't squeeze my glue gun because it's usually a little bit of glue dripping out. So I just roll that up. I do that until I get all the way to the end and make sure that it's glued and secured. So this is a small one that I'm doing here. But anyway, so that's how you do that. Once that's done, don't worry, there's usually a little hole in the middle. I'll show you what we can do with that later. I don't worry about that. I'm not pedantic about that, but it comes in handy, and I'll show you why. So I've got my centre all glued together. I like to just find the end here, like where I finish rolling it, and I like to use that as my starting point for my flower, so that it sort of slips into slips into that edge there. See, there's the end there, and I'll just put that there so it starts off at the same place, and it just gives it a little bit more even look. Well, you know, tucks in tighter. I think that's the words I'm looking for. So once you've got that a little bit around, you know, you're ready to go. I'll just put a little bit of glue there. Hold that down. I like to try and roll it a little bit first so that you can get that edge nice and flat. So as you're going here, you want to just pull your petals out a little bit. And that way you can put your finger in here and on the end, and you can keep that edge nice and straight as you're rolling it. So we'll put a little bit of glue there, and I just glued my finger. Oh, no brain, no pain. So I'm trying to do it so you ladies can see. And as I'm doing it, I'm pulling it nice and tight here. I'll put a little bit of glue every now and then. Now you don't have to use hot glue. I have actually made these just using a quick dry glue like this. I find it's a little bit messier. I do like to use the hot glue. But for you ladies that don't have hot glue, you can use that. Just remember that you have to hold it a little bit. When you're doing your centre, you just have to hold it a little bit longer for it to set. Which, that's not a drama, is it? We can handle that. Alright. So, like that. Nearly there. So being as this is actually a large daisy, I would use both of these sheets of paper to give it enough petals when you open it out. And again, where you finish, that's where I like to start the next one. So it kind of butter up together. Get that curling around a little bit so that I can hold it secure and make sure it's straight. It's not exactly touching, but it's around about the same place. I'm squeezing a little tiny bit of glue out because my glue's not dripping at the moment. Don't glue your thumb. I just did. Never mind. I think I'll survive. Being a chef for so many years, my fingers have been burnt a lot worse than that. Not even sure if I've got feeling in the end of that thumb because I cut it off. You get that? I glued it back on though. Well, not glued it back on, but I reattached it myself. Actually packed it all up and tied it up as tight as I could, put the end of the thumb back on, cut it halfway through the nail down there. You wouldn't know now though. I didn't even bother going to the doctors for that one because they made such a mess of my other finger that I cut. They actually glued it and then put a band-aid over it, and then a couple of days later they decided to remove the band-aid and they tore all the glue open. So that was not helpful. All right, so just make sure that's nice and secure there like that. As flat as possible. What we want to do is pull our petals out. And I like to kind of roll them over my fingers. And normally I do this as I'm going, but I haven't done it today, so, you know, you get that in the big jobs. I'm just going to go in here and press this right out. Like that. Well, sometimes you get bits like this, where there's a little bit of a gap. If you're not happy with that, you can actually go in and double cut some of these. See there? Go in and cut that a little bit narrower, and you'll find it will help fill out that space. So when you curl, it will actually come out into that space a little bit. Right. So that's all flattened out. Just curl these over my hand, and you can decide how big you want these or how small you want them, or, you know, I mean, that's our full inch one with the full inch centre, and then the 2.5 on the outside. That's our 1/2 inch one, and this one I've actually gone smaller, and that one I just cut by hand. I didn't actually decide on what size I wanted to do it. I just decided, yeah, that looks good enough, I'll do that. Now, I have seen ladies that get their ink pad and either ink the very ends here, or before they put it out like this, they'll go in and ink the centre so that you get a darker shade either in the middle here or on the outside. That's up to you. I think that's unnecessary, especially with a pretty paper, you know. And you can use random paper. I mean, this one here actually had little flowers on it. I don't know if you can see, it's got green and pink in there. But it all adds to the differentness of the daisies, whatever you like. Right, that's it. I mean, how easy is that? Now, like I said, you've got the little hole in the centre. I don't worry about that, because if, like this is nice for a flat project, like if you want to put it on a canvas, or you want to put it on a box, or a Christmas decoration or something like that. You've got it ready like that. You've got a nice little flat bottom. Generally, when I'm making these, what I'll do is I'll actually put a little bit of glue across like this. Not the centre, but just along the edges there, just to make sure that that's all stuck together. And I have a little bit of baking paper here because I can't find my non-stick pad. And I'll just push that on there to make it nice and flat. But then you've still got your hole in the centre. So if you actually want to do a pot of plants or something like that, what I do is I put my finger in the middle here, because you know, you don't want the centre unravelling. And I'll use a skewer, and I'll just pop it in there. And then you can do your pot of plants. And you can go as fancy as you like. You can use a little bit of green fabric and go around there. You can add some leaves to it. Let's see, leaves are easy enough to make. This is another flower I've made here. And the leaves are actually just a piece of paper like this. I've cut it in half. I'll just show you with this piece of paper here. Cut it in half diagonally, like that. And then, let's do this quickly, shall we? Wrong colour for leaves, but anyway. I'll cut it in half like that. And I've not measured this or anything, I've just eyeballed it. And you just do a little zigzag fold like that. Too easy, too easy. This is the easiest leaf out, seriously. And if you want, you can actually turn this into a flower using this leaf. So you got it folded like that on the triangle. I'll show you. There you go, like that. And then all you do is you fold it in half like this. Seriously, and that's your leaf. You just glue it down the centre. A little bit of glue in the centre there. Push that together. And all I would do is just go and trim that little bit off there. Like that. Oh dear, my hot glue's not holding. Come on. Not quick enough. There you go. And just fan that out. Isn't that simple? So you make a couple of leaves and you can stick them on there. Obviously it'd normally be green, but anyway. So just like that. And you get your pretty little leaves. Okay, my lovelies. Well, that's that flower. I'll talk to you later. Bye.